Hey everyone, Derrick here with something a little different for our preview of Xenoblade Chronicles X. I felt it was more appropriate to give my thoughts like this, as there's still so much to organize and cover about this game for any kind of written preview. These are basically my gut reactions after playing the game for almost 40 hours already. But first, let's address the question I've been getting constantly since receiving Xenoblade Chronicles. Namely, the voice acting. Specifically whether there's a dual language option, and I can say right now, there isn't. There is no option to switch over to a Japanese language track, and honestly I'm not that surprised because the game is huge, there is a lot of dialogue, and a lot more spoken dialogue than you would think. So that's not surprising that they haven't changed any of that, and really I enjoy the English voice acting. It is excellent almost entirely across the board. There's a few here and there that doesn't work that well for me, or it doesn't quite fit, or it just doesn't sound as good as the others. But on the whole, I think the voice acting here is really, really good. The characters are great, and I think the standout by far is going to be Lyn. She is an amazing character. She has so many tropes surrounding her that she could just fall into. She's young, so she could be bratty or annoying. She's a genius, so she could be haughty and just ridiculous. But no, she has this warmth about her and this excitement, and there's a lot going on with Lyn. And the voice acting for her is so good. You really feel for this character, and you get behind her, and you have fun with her, and you just... she is the standout character to me at this point. She is a lot of fun, and I think she's going to be a fan favorite early on. Elma, she is great too. I like her. I enjoy her voice acting. She's more the stoic type, or, going by the book type, that kind of thing. And there's a little bit of room for personality there, but it's difficult to get it across. So I think I like her, but I think a few people might label her as boring or just very standard. I think there's enough there that she can remain interesting, though. And then there's all the other characters. There are a ton of characters to meet here, and also just characters to have in your party. I don't want to get into spoilers at this point, so I'm not going to go into story details or anything like that. I want you guys to be able to enjoy this and get my impressions and not have to worry about any kind of spoilers. So I'm not going to be discussing any of that quite yet, but needless to say, there are a lot of characters to encounter, and they all really resonate and I think work. While I won't say anything about the story specifically, I will say the atmosphere is really good. There's this great sense of this is humanity on its last legs trying to survive on this crazy planet of Mira. And you constantly get reminded of the things that people are doing and are working towards, the fact that there are people that go out there and die, and you're constantly losing manpower. And there's this push to really save humanity and keep us going. And it's so... you really get behind it. There's great theming behind it. And even though you're the protagonist and you're working through all this and your characters are important, the game does things in such a way that it shows that every character that you run across has a role to play and are important to the recovery of the human race. And I've love that about this game. It really resonates as far as storytelling. Again, I don't want to get into the specifics of the actual story itself or anything like that, but as far as theming goes, the game nails it. And moving on to the gameplay, there is just so much to talk about. There is the affinity chart where you can talk to characters, get to know them, have things open up. The more you talk to them, maybe certain missions will open up to you and become available. And then you can talk to them again and there'll be reactions to those missions. Just like in Xenoblade. There are 5 huge continents to explore. And every inch of those continents have something to look at, because on the gamepad there are segments, hexagonal segments, where each one has something of interest in there, and perhaps even more than just that one thing. It could be anything ranging from a data probe, which opens up the map and shows you what else are in the segments and reveals the actual layout and more specific examples of what's going on. Data probes are also the best way to get money and resources, because by inserting these data probes into the land, you not only get a better look at the layout, but you start mining for money and what's called Muranium. And the Muranium can be used for upgrading different weapons manufacturers. So you're getting new equipment and abilities and stuff like that in the shopping district. But you can also use the Muranium to create augments that you can place onto your weapons and make yourself even more powerful that way, or even just develop new weapons based on both the Muranium and the materials that you collect as you play the game. And it gives you the sense that everything you do is important in this game. There is not a single wasted effort, and I have not quite seen a game pull it off to that degree. And a lot of people were concerned about money or whatnot because you don't really get a lot, but doing these data probes really nets you a lot. In fact, I have more than enough. I go through the money quite quickly, but I quickly get it back in my pocket as well. And that's because you can insert different data probes and change them out. You have mining probes that will get more of the natural resources and Muranium for you, or research probes that get you more money. And there's multiple levels for each of these, and they can even be lined up and connected based on these the placements and whatnot. It's really incredible, and this is all just dedicated to the gamepad. You can switch these out at any time. You don't have to go there. You just tap on the gamepad, take care of it, and it's all done. And it's really a driving force of the game. You want to explore this place. You want to see everything and all the creatures and all the, everything. And the data probes and the gamepad are basically your window to that. I gotta say, it's great. This feels like the first game where the gamepad is really well integrated. I'm so naturally looking down, taking care of things, and switching back and forth based on what I need to do, and it works so well. You do have the option to play with just the Wii U Pro controller or playing on the gamepad itself, but I think it's a disservice, and that frankly might make the game even harder to manage without having the gamepad right there to help you out at any time, being able to just look down, see where you need to go, hit the fast travel option, and poof, you're there. It's really great how they integrated the gamepad in and made exploration key. You will never be bored walking around this world, especially because there are so many quests. There is a quest board that updates constantly, and these are just small ones. They're not story related. I don't think you can miss them because what's happening with them is they change each time. You could visit, look at a set, and then leave and come back, and while some will be the same, others will have changed completely. So it's a way for you to constantly get more missions and get out there and explore and do things. And there's 3 types of missions. There are social missions where you talk to people or give Muranium to certain people and help out, or that kind of thing, helping people out. Then there's the bounty missions where you have to hunt down either a specific set of monsters or a strong monster. In this case, it's known as a tyrant. And you get special rewards for that. And usually the rewards are a little bit of money, experience, and then special outfits and clothing like tank tops and different bottoms and whatnot. There is so much equipment and stuff that you can explore, and there's just so much to this game. I'm barely scratching the surface. It is honestly overwhelming. The first 3 hours of the game, or 2 to 3 hours, depending on how much you mill around, which I was exploring everything as I was getting there, so it took me a little longer. But the first 2 hours or so is all dedicated to tutorials, teaching you. It's not even direct tutorials, it's just saying, okay, here's this that you can do, and here's how it relates to rescuing humanity, helping humanity, and doing this, or this is what this organization's all about. It's world building tied into tutorials. And I didn't mind it too much. It does get a bit overwhelming, but the funny thing is, despite all these tutorials, there's a lot that they don't explain to you. There is stuff, like it took me forever to find out how to do augments and place them onto my equipment and armor in order to become stronger and more efficient, and there's so much that they just don't show. You really have to explore every little nook and cranny. But the funny thing is, with just those tutorials, even if you don't explore and just go out with what they say, you can still have fun with this game. You can have a basic understanding, and as you get through the game, you want to experiment more and see what else is going on. You see these elements that you want to check out. You'll naturally just start exploring the options, and you'll start discovering these, and the game opens up. And I'm still discovering new stuff. It's amazing how much there is to do in this game, and the battles. Let's move on to battles, because you'll be doing that a lot, and they're always fun. You have several different classes. Each one plays very differently, and you get the same kind of arts and skills that you would from the original Xenoblade, and being able to expand and do whatever you want. And each class has a different set of arts, and you can level them up or switch them out or whatever as you level up the class. And it's a great way to let people sort of figure out what they want to do. They can go with the basic set that they're given and manage it all right. But when I started expanding my class and really looking at what abilities I unlocked, I started matching them up as best as I could. And I could feel a difference. I became really efficient, and I could handle monsters very well. There are some differences between Xenoblade Chronicles and X as far as the combat's concerned, but I'm going to get into that in a later video, because this is just basically an overview on these thoughts. But combat is excellent. It feels good. It's challenging but also rewarding, because you'll take a while fighting these monsters, and you'll be targeting specific sections to blow them off and maybe get better materials and stuff like that. It's constantly challenging you to work at it, and there's like Xenoblade Chronicles, you'll be running around at level 3 and you'll see level 54 things in the distance. Like, well, can't challenge that. But the thing is, even as you explore these different continents, there's still enemies designed that you're able to challenge. There's never a point where you get to one of these later continents and you can't kill anything. You just have to constantly run. There is always something that you can fight and experience. And some of the missions even require that you go to these places earlier than you might do normally. It's a way to, it's like I said, it's constantly pushing you to explore and rewarding you for doing so. I cannot praise it enough for that. I think that's the thing that I've taken away the most from this game, is how much it just goes and it really pushes you to do various things. If I do have a complaint, though, it's the gathering missions, which is the third type of mission you can get from the missions. I got sidetracked there, sorry. And basically what you do there is you had the different materials or material crystals that you see scattered around each region. And you have to collect these in order to fulfill certain missions. They don't tell you where to find these. They just give you a basic idea, and you have to really just explore. And they can change based on the location within that continent, the weather of that continent, the time of that continent, and it becomes very tricky. Sometimes it'll just be rare, and you have to keep walking around in circles to try to get this one material. So I'm not actually a huge fan of the whole gathering aspect of the game. It takes a lot, and the thing is, it also distracts from the Collectopedia, which returns from Xenoblade Chronicles. And they have special things. Not only do you get rewards for filling out rows like in before, but there's lucky spaces where you get extra battle points, which you can then use to upgrade your augments and skills so you become even more powerful. Again, everything's connected in a very smart way, so that no matter what you're doing, you're constantly building something up and being able to do more and feel like you're contributing and working towards something, even just with gathering. But because of these gathering missions, I'm always afraid to dedicate too much to the Collectopedia, because I'll find a rare material, but I'm like, okay, I could give it to the Collectopedia, or there could be a mission that pops up that I need to do that with, that I need this material with, and I'd rather get that mission done before I dedicate it to the Collectopedia. So I've gotten in the habit of waiting until I've gotten like 10 of a certain thing until I actually dedicate it to it and registering that item. It's the only thing I feel like pulls away from the game. Unfortunately, there's not really a great way to solve this either. There might be. Again, there's still a lot for me to experience and explore as we go through. It's an issue, but it doesn't matter. You can skip these gathering missions, or basically what I've started doing is going down through and the mission select, and you can look and see how many you need of a material, and it'll even tell you how many you have of that material already to that quest. So I'll just go down through and say, oh, okay, I need 5 of these. I already have 7. Okay, I'll take that. And as soon as you accept it, the mission completes, you get your reward, and you're good to go. So you don't have to have any muss or fuss, because you are limited to having only 20 missions active at a time. So that's something you got to keep in mind. But the best new quest by far are the affinity missions. And basically what these are is they're kind of like the heart-to-hearts in Xenoblade Chronicles, except that you have a mission based around them that gets you to do some extra things, but also gives you some really great character development on the various characters in the game, and you really get a better sense of them. And it's all a lot of them are voice acted. You get to meet these characters. They talk a little bit. You find out a bit of a problem. You get a little bit of their backstory, and you move on from there. It's really smartly designed and really pushes you. It's a more traditional quest rather than just getting it, completing it, immediately getting your reward, and having no interaction with people. This way, you actually have the interaction with people, and there's various requirements before you can do it. You have to have your affinity up with this character to a certain point, or you have to be a certain level, or even you've had to complete certain missions before you can take it on. It keeps you on your toes and keeps you active, and really shows how these characters interact with each other. And again, great character development. I really enjoy the affinity quest, but there is a catch. If you take on an affinity quest, you cannot do the story quests until you complete it. If you do and you cannot, you are locked out of that story quest until you complete the affinity quest. Sometimes there's quests in there that are part of the affinity missions that will take up a lot of time and can get a little frustrating, but on the whole, the affinity missions are a lot of fun. You meet some really great new characters, and it feels like a natural extension of the heart-to-hearts, which are in the game as well, but to a lesser extent. I've only just recently unlocked the Skells, and I still need to experiment a bit more with them, but they take a while to get, and especially since I was trying to explore as much as I could and would not miss anything. Depending on how you play, the Skells could take quite a while for you to unlock, and I'm really looking forward to playing around with them. The combat seems very different because instead of developing arts, the arts that you're able to use in battle are actually coming from your Skells equipment. Depending on what weapons and shields or whatever you attach to them, you get different abilities, and you have to sort of build them up in that way. I still need to experiment a little bit more with it and test it out, but the Skells do seem like a lot of fun to use, and they're the same, but they also change things up, and I think that's very much appreciated. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers the basics as far as gameplay. There's a lot more, of course, and I'll be covering it as the weeks come on, and of course in the review itself. But let's talk about the continents themselves and just address them very shortly, because I'm going to wrap this up pretty quickly. I think the gameplay is the biggest thing, and I don't want to talk about it too much yet. Leave some things to talk about for later. But as far as graphics are concerned, the art design is great. There are some really standout locations here that just blow you away as you see them. The size, the scale, everything. It just dwarfs you so many times, and I love it. And there's a few graphical hiccups here and there that I'll get into later that do affect it, but purely on art design, it looks great. But there are hiccups. This is an open world game. You're not going to have it perfect, but if you don't look for those flaws, the game still looks gorgeous. But the best thing of all, and I think probably might be one of the most divisive things about the game, is the music. There's various pieces depending on your continent, the time of day, whether you're in a Skell or not, that sort of thing. And they can be a little repetitious as you go through. They don't change up too much. However, I like almost every song in this game. It is really great. There are some really standout ones. And I just cannot praise this soundtrack enough. But it's also very strange. It's not the typical kind of music that you would expect. There's this weird flavor to it all, but if you can get into that flavor, it is so fun. And by far the standout musical piece to me is the song that plays in Noctilum during the day. It is so upbeat, and it really pumps you up for exploring and getting out there and seeing everything. Sylvanum's music is very laid back and quiet and chill, and it's a very moody piece, but it also just sort of gives you chills because it's so great. I cannot praise it enough, and I really think you guys should check out the soundtrack or just listen to the music when you can for this game. It's fantastic. But as you can see, there is so much to talk about. I am 40 hours into the game. I am only on Chapter 6 because I have been exploring as much as I can, and there is still so much more to go. And I cannot wait to check it out and explore and show off more, and I'm going to do my best to avoid spoilers for you guys so you can check it out as much as you want and see what you think. But I also have some special things coming. We got 2 copies of the game, and we decided to give our extra copy to Chugga Conroy because he is such a huge fan of Xenoblade Chronicles. So he's a little bit ahead. He never actually told anybody this until Nintendo decided to send him a copy as well, but a little bit later than what we got. So he's been playing it almost as long as I have. In the coming weeks, we're going to be doing discussions focusing on various topics so you can get both of our opinions on this game and its various aspects and whatever else. And each one covering a different subject or group of subjects or something else or whatever comes to our heads as we're talking. Really looking forward to this and expanding out and basically talking about the game and showing what you can expect if you're not sold on it yet, or if you want to just get hyped up even more if you are sold on it. Either one. But with all that said, thank you guys for listening to this preview. And one other thing, I've gotten a lot of questions. Obviously I haven't answered all questions here yet. I'm going to do a Q&A video, so leave any questions you have for me about Xenoblade Chronicles X in the comments. I'll go through them, and I'll do a Q&A video talking about what I can and answering as many questions I can about the game that you guys might want to know. So with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching, and of course stay tuned to GameXplain for more on Xenoblade Chronicles X and other things gaming too. Alright guys, bye.